what's required really to have this type of mindset and backbone, if you will, is not only self-knowledge, but self-respect in order to hold the line. So
Absolutely.
how do we get to that in order to have good boundaries? Because so many people, first of all, have no clue what their values are, really what's important to them. They think they know, but they're not sure. They don't even know who they are. Their brain is totally programmed by other people's ideas. And, they don't know what makes them happy, and they don't know what their purpose is. They're just lost. And that leads to a lack of self-respect and being able to have a boundary to keep the line in the sand. So how do we start by establishing our self-knowledge to get our self-respect to be able to hold a boundary?
I think it all starts with self-care.
Okay.
And I don't really like people to jump into boundary work without doing self-care first, because I think that self-care is what makes us strong enough and healthy enough to be able to hold some boundaries. So boundary work really begins with yourself. It begins with saying yes to you and taking care of you and improving that and finding some ways where you can improve your self-care. Everybody can always improve that. The other thing I want to correct that people need to have in their mind is that having boundaries in relationship isn't all about just what you want. The other person gets too. I'm just as curious about my husband's boundaries and his yeses and nos as I am about my own. There's room for the other person to also have some clarity in the relationship around where they are. And so, when you have these boundaries, it isn't you alone in relationship having boundaries. It is you also becoming like curious enough to ask others, what'll work for you?
Okay.
What's a yes for you in this? What's a no for you? How else can we problem solve this together so that maybe everybody wins?
Right. So
And
there is a bit of negotiating to get to that compromise then, right?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. But there's room to sort of figure out, everybody gets to state what they need. And sometimes, you can look at, well, let's make sure there's room for everybody to get their needs met. But before we get to those, before you're really doing this complicated work of how to do boundaries in relationship, you really want to work just on self-care and work on improving your self-care and treating yourself better so that you have that sense of self-respect, self-authorship, that you
Mhm.
want to take better care of you, even in relationship. But before you can get there, before you can't just, like you said, instant oatmeal, like, yay, now I woke up this morning and I have so much self-respect, I can set these boundaries. Um, no, I want you to wake up and do self-care so that eventually you care enough for yourself that you're willing to be a voice for what you need, and what you need not only with you, but what you need from relationship.